It's no secret that the backstory of the Nazgul has been kept quite mysterious. We know very little about them, but in today's video we're going to look at what clues we have to try and understand the company of the Nazgul and learn what we might about who they were before they were ensnared. Let's get into it.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Despite their prominent role as an adversary throughout the course of The Lord of the Rings, there is very little that we know about their origins. We know from the introductory poem that they were once men that were doomed to die. As so it is said in the introduction, 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die. The 9 mortal men here doomed to die might naturally draw our attention to themes we know to be at the heart of The Lord of the Rings, that of death and the seeking of deathlessness. This is more explicit in the downfall of Numenor, as is given in the published Silmarillion. The last king of Numenor would hearken unto Sauron's counsel, as he and his people began to rue the gift of men, that promise of death, the shadow which falls behind us and follows us for all our lives. Ar-Pharazôn would then land his mighty host upon Aman, and there he was sundered beneath great falls of rocks and brick, buried for all time in the Cave of the Forgotten, till we see the Dagor-Dagorath, battle of all battles at the end of days. So since we have the Nazgul's origins as 9 men from the aforementioned verse, we can say that they acted as thralls for Sauron as his plans went wrong. The elves felt his presence immediately and removed their rings. The dwarves were too stubborn to be affected, but men who above all else seek power, were ensnared, captured by the magic and the power of the unnatural long life that the ring would bring them. We know that they were once mighty kings of men. Though this is vague, one of their number and the Witch King's lieutenant is identified by name, Khamûl the Easterling, once king of the land of Rhûn east of Mordor. Scattered information also informs us that 3 of their number were Black Númenóreans, once Númenórean lords, which places them among the company of the 9 ships of the Faithful that would survive the downfall of Numenor and the reshaping of the world, from a once flat land into a world wherein all roads are bent. For the most part, what we are dealing with is a mystery. Though from what the good professor has left us, there is perhaps enough to piece together the remaining clues to get what we want. The Nazgul, they were the Ringwraiths, the enemy's most terrible servants. Darkness went with them, and they cried with the voices of death. Throughout the series, the corruptible characters within Tolkien's world are self-seeking and hungry for power. It's easy to assume, therefore, that the men who became ensnared by Sauron were of his manner of being, and that they lent themselves to corruption because, as it has been put, men above all else desire power. All the hints we have point to this as their point of origin, as former lords who were proud in their time, that being the Second Age and the fallout of the forging of the Rings of Power. Gifted with the Rings of Power, they were slowly corrupted in the same manner as the former river hobbit Smeagol, turning into Gollum over years of obsession and fascination with the ring and its magical properties. We can envision something similar to have happened with the former lords who were gifted their Rings of Power. No gift of the Dark Lord is truly a gift, as we well know it, and nothing done by the Dark Lord has a straightforward or honest purpose. The only reason the 9 are visible when we encounter them in The Lord of the Rings is because they are cloaked, which indicates they cannot die. They did not die, rather slowly faded entirely from the mortal world and wound up as fell spirits, attached to Sauron's will and service. What kind of people they were before they took hold of the Rings of Power, we have no inclination, though we can imagine they were much like Ar-Pharazôn, who was willing to make war upon Valinor itself to prolong his life. It stands to reason that these Númenóreans would have been kings of men, the party that supported the king rather than a member of the Faithful, who remained faithful and friendly to the elves and the worship of the one god, Eru Ilúvatar. What we can envision is that when the 9 ships of the Faithful managed to escape the downfall of Numenor, that among their numbers were secret stowaways who were of the king's men, perhaps intending to follow and take note of their actions in Middle-earth on behalf of their king, Ar-Pharazôn. Though they would be unaware that his mission was fated to fail from the start, it could have been a precautionary measure taken by the king to ensure that wherever the Faithful went, he would have his own eyes and ears to report on their actions. The Witch King of Angmar would go on to be Sauron's most lucrative investment. Now we know they go by many names: Nazgul, witches of the black speech, Ringwraiths, a hint at the mediation between the unseen and the seen worlds. Uleri, as they would first appear in the Second Age 2251, though their greatest power would come after the commencement of the Third Age. In the year 1409, the 9 would ascend upon Arnor, and the Northern Kingdom and former Númenórean colony on the coastline of Middle-earth. The Witch King and power of Angmar would spread at the cost of cohesion of Arnor, as Rudawa would be annexed and Cardolan destroyed outright. It would not be long ere the last of the remaining lands to the Free People, that of Arthedain, would be overrun as well. The Witch King would also break the line of kings in the south, when the Witch King taunted Eomer, the 33rd and last king of Gondor, by naming him a coward. In response, Eomer left his crown behind and entered Minas Morgul, there to give lie to the proclamation of coward. He would never return to take up his crown again. Coward or not, the line was broken and Gondor's great white tree would be out of season for generations, falling into disorder with the stewards at the helm, though these were by and large honourable men doing their best, most unlike the portrayal we have of Denethor from the Peter Jackson trilogy, which to be honest is the closest thing we have to character assassination in those films. If you'd like to get to know the real Denethor, leave us a comment below and we'll get that video to you as soon as we can. The 16-year conflict we know as the Kinstrife was a terrible conflict and long-running civil war that caused so much pain and broke so much, and it would be thousands of years before these realms would be reunited under Aragorn, King Elessar, the first king since Eomer proved he was less of a coward than he was a hasty man. To return to the Nine, we can use these clues to put together a reasonable portrait of who they were. Petty lords, perhaps? Númenórean nobility of the king's men? No friends of the elves? Perhaps they were sent by Ar-Pharazôn as spies? For certain, we cannot say. It makes sense that those who would parley with Sauron might not be of the purest intent or spirit, and the corruption and fear of the death that fell upon them would lead them to a lifeless immortality, enthralled by the greatest evil of the second and third age of the world. The labours before Aragorn upon his ascension were numerous indeed, and it was chiefly the cause of these nine, who had done so much harm at the behest of their master. The Barrow-wights would be their own thralls, less potent than they for their master, but just as terrible in their purpose. Okay, that's it for this video, guys. I understand that this is a topic of a little frustration, but we've done the best we can to piece together what clues there are to try and give you a better picture of the Nazgul's origins and their background. Time has come, as always, to thank all of our patrons and channel members. If you are one of those, we really hope that you enjoyed the recent behind-the-scenes look at our location scout. That is available on the members-only section on YouTube and, of course, our Patreon if you haven't seen it yet. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our other channels if you're interested in any other fandoms. We, of course, have Batman, Power Rangers, Dragon Ball, and the recently launched Star Trek channel, Federation Outpost 111. Check those out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Welcome to the behind the scenes of The Guard.